Kia ora, this is Arun Jacob, your friendly and frank licensed New Zealand immigration advisor as well as education advisor. It has been an interesting few days for us here in New Zealand. Practically every day there seems to be a new announcement either by the government or by the opposition parties around immigration matters. And because my company, AJV Services, and my team we basically deal with predominantly international students who are planning to come and study in New Zealand immediately after the announcement of a new policy or change to the immigration rules. There is a lot of consternation. There are a lot of doubts that come into the minds of our prospective students, and which is why I decided I'm going to make this video and address these concerns as well as give my own opinion about what exactly is happening in New Zealand at the moment as far as immigration is concerned. Well, I got an email today from one of our prospective students who is about to undertake a level 7 course in construction management from one of the New Zealand government owned institutions here in New Zealand. And we have already filed for his visa, and he was a little concerned with the announcement of a new policy by the leader of the opposition yesterday, who said that they're going to cut down on international student visas as well as look at the post-study work visa and how it affects, and going forward, essentially how if their party gets voted and they come into government, how they will essentially cut down on immigration. My first suggestion, my first request to all of you who keep following the news media in New Zealand and keep reading all these things pertaining to immigration. First and foremost, understand that it is not a policy change announced by the government. It is only the leader of the opposition who is fighting an election this year. This particular party has been out of power for 3 terms. They have not been in power since 2008 onwards, which means that they will be trying quite hard to get into power, and immigration is always a very emotive subject. It is a subject that will get votes for political parties, not just in New Zealand, but globally everywhere. As you would have seen, Mr. Donald Trump, who also came to power in America, spoke pretty harshly around immigration, and he talked about putting up walls and all kinds of different announcements to get those votes. So there will be a little bit of fear mongering that happens when political parties talk about immigration, because they know that immigration is a very emotive subject to their majority of their voters, and which is why practically every party and everybody will talk about immigration. But the reality is that immigration is here to stay. The reality is that not just for New Zealand, but for every country in the world, immigration is a harsh reality, whether they want to accept it or not. We've moved into an era in world history where people will cross borders. They will keep seeking better fortunes for themselves, and in many instances, countries themselves are trying to attract people from different parts of the world to come into their countries and bring their talents and their skills, and in certain instances even their cultural and other people connections as well, because every country is competing globally. So is New Zealand. So to wish away immigration is a very foolhardy thing. The government of New Zealand understands this, and there was an immediate rebuttal from the Prime Minister of New Zealand to the statements of the opposition party's leader, who said here they will cut down on immigration if they are voted to power. And the Prime Minister immediately came out with a rebuttal and said that immigration is one of the key drivers of the economy of New Zealand, especially international education, which is what the opposition party leader was targeting, has gone on to become a $4 billion plus industry here in New Zealand. It employs 30,000 New Zealanders in work, and it has gone on to become one of the largest export earners for New Zealand. So, in view of all this, you guys need to stop reacting immediately to all these statements and understand the deeper picture the bigger picture, where it is you cannot wish away immigration. New Zealand needs talent. New Zealand needs to attract talent, and part of the talent has to come through the pathway of international students, because international students not only contribute valuable income and revenue to the country while they're studying, but once they complete their studies, they are the best attuned to find employment in New Zealand and go on to become more productive workers and future residents and citizens of this country. So you guys will have to stop reacting to all these statements, because in many instances it is not even policy. These are just the statements of politicians who are trying to get some votes, and it is a fact of life everywhere in every country that politicians will have to use emotive subjects like immigration, like terrorism, like local jobs being taken away. These are all emotive subjects which gets them their votes. But once any party gets voted, reality sets in, and the reality is that they will need to run the country, and they will need to ensure that the economy is not stalling. And for that economy to stall, they cannot mess with an industry as large as $4 billion plus, like international education, or something that employs more than 30,000 New Zealanders. So it's an industry that simply cannot be wished away. Yes, can they make it better? I absolutely agree with the fact that they can make it better. Can they do away with the lower level courses? Yes, I think they need to do away with the lower level courses. In fact, if you look at some of my videos, I'm a very strong advocate of people not coming for those silly business diplomas, because I do not think they serve any purpose. They do not serve the purpose of helping the student or helping the future workforce of New Zealand. I think the only people benefiting from those lower level business diplomas are the institutions which sprung up around these diplomas, because they realized they could make a quick buck around it. So whether it is the government or the opposition party which says we are going to target these lower level courses, I think it is a welcome move, because what will then happen is that young students, talented students, will seek to come to New Zealand for the right reasons, and not look at New Zealand as a soft target for using education as a pathway into easy migration, because I don't think that is the kind of country, or that is the kind of society that New Zealand likes to build. New Zealand would like to attract some of the best talent in the world. We want you to come and study in our world-class institutions and do our world-class courses, and ideally come and study in areas which are in skill shortage in New Zealand, because that is when it serves the purpose for you as well as for New Zealand, and for the institution that is imparting education, for companies like AJB which are based in New Zealand and who are committed to New Zealand's growth. It will also please us to see that we are attracting the right students to come into the right institutions and into the right courses and into the right future careers and into addressing the right skill shortages as well. So that is the kind of combination that you need to be looking at. So I request all my AJB prospective students not to get perturbed. These are all political statements made in an election year. The reality is we need a lot of young people to come to New Zealand, and there are nobody better than an international student who has come to New Zealand, studied here, understood our systems, our processes, our culture, our ethos, our work practices. Who better than you to translate into going on to become a worker? And then, of course, recently there was a policy change which said that you also need to get $49,000 as a salary to be able to seek an eventual residency. But as I explained in one of my previous videos already, you do have 3 years of period after you complete your studies to be able to find yourself employment, and then work for 3 years. And 3 years is a long enough time to prove your worth to an organization. And if you really make yourself indispensable to an organization, I'm sure that organization would not think twice about giving you the kind of salary that you deserve, which in turn will lead to residency. I can cite a lot of examples, and I'm not making up these examples. These are my own ex-students who are now working in fantastic positions in New Zealand. I can tell you over and over again, there is never ever going to be a problem for anybody who is of good quality. If you have the right attitude, if you have the right skills, and you have the right knowledge, and you're coming and doing the right course in the right institution, in the right subject area, and assisted by a right company like AGV, which is present in New Zealand and will keep guiding you continuously while you're here in this country. I do not think there is a problem. So I think you guys need to stop reacting, and you need to take a deep breath and work with confidence and move ahead. Is it a risk? Yes, it is a risk. Going abroad is always a risk, whether you go as a student, whether you go as a worker, whether you go as a migrant. It is always a risk. But at your age, at when you're young and you're filled with spirit and you have the drive to go and achieve big things in your life, if you cannot take a calculated risk, when will you sit back and take a calculated risk? You can't suddenly find yourself being a 45-year-old person saying, oh, I really should have taken that chance at the right time. So you'll need to get off that wagon of fear. You will need to tell yourself that I'm taking a calculated risk by going to the right country, to the right college, doing the right course, and opting for the right career, and being advised by a right consultant like AGV, who is genuinely committed to you guys as well as to New Zealand, besides our own growth as an organization. So that's the kind of frame of mind you need to be addressing the studying in New Zealand and seeking a future. Do not get perturbed by the statements and the media reports that keep coming out all the time. As I said, politicians need to make the statements, but you are the people who can take control of your future. And just because of some statement from somewhere which may or may not become reality in future, I don't want you to trade away a beautiful future in a country like New Zealand, which is considered possibly one of the most attractive destinations on earth. So my request to all of you is to get off that wall of indecision, move ahead with confidence, speak to a confident company like AJV, and come to a beautiful country like New Zealand. Because I say this one more time, we need you as much as you need to come to New Zealand. We need young talent, we need young workers, we need young future residents and future citizens of this country. And if you are the person who has got that caliber and who can tell yourself, yes, I'm good enough to go to New Zealand, then a very, very warm welcome, because we absolutely need people like you. So I hope that made sense. So start getting confident. Don't get too perturbed by all these statements that politicians make. That's what they do globally everywhere. You're the one who can take the right decision pertaining to your future. So all the very best. And as always, thanks for watching my videos. Please share it with your family and friends, and look forward to welcoming you into New Zealand. Kia ora.